Yes, yes. Once again, we are here with the Reentry Connect podcast. Yes, special guest, Mr. Walter Dunn, all the way from Florida. Powerful story. The Reentry Connect podcast, chasing my purpose with Walter Dunn, man. I'm telling y'all, they don't understand. Well, you got a powerful story. Powerful, powerful, man. Been through the prisons, had your sentence overturned. Man, published author. Y'all see there on the screen? Powerful. But man, I'm telling y'all, we just got to go ahead, get ready to get into the story. But before we continue, just got to shout out a couple different people one day at a time. Old Dad from Philadelphia, 215-226-7860. Bell Wells, recovery support, reentry support, all types of support. Feel free to reach out to them. Appreciate you, Mel Wells. GPStransportation.net, 215-774-9913. Best transportation company, city of Philadelphia, tri-state. Anywhere you want to go throughout the states, they'll get you there. Feel free to mention me and you'll get a special rate, guaranteed. If not, y'all contact me. But man, about to get back to this show. We're going to get right into it. Mr. Walter Dunn, I really appreciate you coming here on the show. You showing love. You know, you could have been anywhere else, man, but you took the time out to say, hey, look, I'm going to come on and do a podcast, man, and sharing your story, sharing a powerful testimony of what you've been through. Because the average person's probably looking at the screen right now saying, yo, he's like an attorney. He's like an actual lawyer. But little do they know of your story. But Mr. Walter Dunn, without further ado, if you could go ahead, give your story, let the people know who you are and where you're from.
You know, first of all, Mr. Hudson, it's an honor to be able to get any platform, you know, coming from the valleys that I've came from, to be able to share my story with our community, our society, our nation, with our families, our children, our common folks. You know, it's very important for me to get that message out there. You know, there are a lot of families right now that are going through hardship or going through the criminal justice system and don't understand how to navigate, and are paying thousands of dollars to attorneys and can't hold an attorney accountable, and are just going through the system. And ultimately, you know, our children are ended up in the incarceration institutes. So, you know, I found, like, along my journey, I found my purpose, and that's to fight for our children. That is to safeguard our community. That is to hold people accountable, to stand firm in the ground when things aren't going the right way, and fight for change. And, you know, I feel that peace at night when I'm able to do that. You know, I feel that peace when families reach out to me and say, well, you gave me vital information and my child is at home in the room versus in somebody's prison.
So let me ask you this, Mr. Walter Dunn. So coming up in life, did you have an easy childhood? Was everything peaches and cream, or did you go through some things to land you in the predicament that you were in?
No, I had a beautiful upbringing. And just to let me back up, because I feel like, you know, so many times I get caught up in the speaking and I don't truly introduce myself. But my name is Walter Dunn. I am an author. I'm a motivational speaker. You know, I travel the country speaking at universities around the country, criminal justice conferences, summits, about how important it is to go through the criminal justice system, how to safeguard our children, what my journey was like. And I plan on sharing that today on your broadcast. So people can get more familiar with who I am. But if you've heard my story, you read any of the books that I've authored, you would understand my plight and you would understand my fight. So just to give a formality, this is who I am. You know, at the end, you know, there, Mr. Hudson, I put it up there. My website is www.walterdunn.com. You can go there and read the complete backstory. You have the opportunity to buy my books and also to, you know, safeguard your children and book me to speak. But to answer your question, I had a great childhood. You know, I'm a biracial child. You know, I come from that type of environment. My father wasn't a part of my upbringing. I had a mother that, you know, was a two parents in one. So, you know, mom's definitely did what she could to take care of us. She provided for me and my sister as if there were two parents in the household. I had a blessed childhood. You know, I'm not, you know, one of these guys that I was from the hood or I ran the streets. You know, my family gave me a great living, and I have been a productive child. My upbringing, playing football and baseball, and you know, I had a great childhood. So I don't want to ever say I'm a product of my environment, because that's definitely not the case for me.
Gotcha. Wow, wow, wow. So going down the trajectory, because a lot of people don't know that you actually done time before. You know what I'm saying? And we don't even have to go into depth what you were locked up for, whatever the case would be. But we know that you went through a period to whereas you had to study the law that eventually got your case overturned. And I
Yeah.
know that's a long, but if you could put all that in a package in one, man, just share that experience about when you went through that process from your arraignment up to your preliminary hearing to your sentencing. Just share that process with people and let them know, like, how did you get through that?
Being arrested for the first time in my life, it was definitely a roller coaster ride for my family. Matter of fact, I'm the first person that ever been arrested in my entire family. I come from a background of educators, law enforcement, people who have worked extremely hard, who have fantastic careers in our family. And here I got into a fist fight one night and was arrested for the first time in my life and accused of crimes I didn't commit. And at that time, I didn't know what the statistics were for conviction in the state of Florida. So what I mean by that to everybody is that the state of Florida right now, as of today, April 30th, 2024, the state of Florida has a 99% conviction rate. So if you go on Florida's Attorney General website, you'll see that Florida has a 99% conviction rate. And what that means to the common folk like me and you is that 9 out of 10 people who have been arrested will be convicted of some type of crime.
Wow.
So whether you're innocent, whether they put trumped up charges on you, whether you were guilty by association, if you were arrested in the state of Florida,
yeah,
you're going to be convicted of something. And that's just how it goes, and I didn't know that was the web that I had fell into. So, we hear the cliche, innocent until proven guilty. We 2024, we about change. We need to change that. Because you can be arrested for nothing and accused of something and guilty of another. And that's just what it is until you figure it out. And in my case, I have been accused of 4 felonies on the night of my arrest, none of which I did. A 5th charge was added 14 months later to heighten my case. And it really sunk me. And I was raised by a mother that told me never to plea out or never take accountability for something you didn't do. Yeah. And I felt like if I would have signed a negotiated plea deal to go to prison for something I didn't do, I went against everything that I had been raised to stand for. And the outcome is that what I was facing was 2 life sentences plus 30 years. So to say that you're in the justice system, you've been arrested and accused of crimes, and the worst possible situation is 2 life sentences plus 30 years. Most people don't have the guts or the heart to stand trial. And let me just put in specific statistics for you, because now I'm kind of a statistic guy. Only 2% of the people that are arrested in the state of Florida go to trial. Only 2%. What? So out of the 2%, only 0.5 walk away and go home free. So in essence, the state of Florida has a 99.5 conviction rate. So guys that get arrested in Florida, bottom line, they're not going to trial. They're not they could be completely innocent, but the prosecutor will hang that time over your head and say, if you lose trial, we'll give you 15 years. You can take this negotiated plea for 20 months. The 20 months looks a lot better than the 15 years. And that's just common sense.
That's true.
Guys would rather duck 15 years and take a felony conviction versus standing for the truth.
That's true.
And for me, I had just came to a crossroad that I wasn't going to plea out for something I didn't do. And if it came down to me getting a life sentence, I could lay down every night knowing that I stood and fought for the truth.
Wow.
And that's just where I went. And that's exactly what I did. I was held at a no bond status for 32 months in the county jail. So I never even was afforded bond. There was nobody. There was nobody killed. There was nobody shot or stabbed or murdered in my case. And I got held at a no bond status because I had a man and a woman come to court and say, if you let him out, he'll hurt us. So under a statute, the judge was able to deny me of bail due to the protection of the alleged victims. So this is a song and dance that I had to go through. and I wasn't ever afforded bail. And the statistics from the National Institute of Justice or the Bureau Institutes of Justice will definitely clearly show you that. And they just did a study on this at Rikers Island, that the people who are kept in jail at a no bond status or cannot make bail, it is over 90% chance that they're going to plea out and go to prison.
Wow.
So, here I am in Florida, getting offered 15 years to go to prison. When that fifth charge got added on me, the plea deal went to 22 years. And I don't care what number that they decided to keep going up for a plea deal. I just wasn't going to take it. And I went to trial after 32 months. I beat one charge. I lost on the rest. And 30 days later, I was sentenced to 27 years Florida State Prison.
Wow. And you were how old?
I was 26 at the time.
Wow.
I was arrested in 2009. I went to trial in 2012, and I was sentenced to 27 years. So just quick math, you'll clearly see that, I'm home free. And that's just a beautiful part of my story. And, I want to give people inspiration. I want to give people hope, that.
Question. I don't mean to cut you off. So when it went to after your sentencing, now a lot of people get confused with the process of appeals, and I understand that you went through the appeal process. Now, did you go pro se or did you have a private counsel?
I went pro se. My family threw everything they possibly could at the justice system. They threw all the money and resources collectively throughout my entire family to fight for my defense attorney. And when I lost, my family was broke. There's no other way to put it. You battle the justice system, you're gonna go broke. I don't care if you look like me. I don't care if you look like a different shade of me, or you're a man or a woman. When you fight the justice system is designed to drain you. You have to pay for court calls, you have to pay for fines, restitution, you have to pay for an attorney. If you lose, you got to file an appeals attorney. It's just a money-making system. So when I lost trial, my mom said, "Hey, Walt, like I put up everything that I own, plus some, and I owe people, I owe creditors, I owe your family, I owe your auntie, I owe these people, and I don't have no more money." And when I went to prison, Mr. Hudson, it was a daze for me because I couldn't believe that I was there. I couldn't believe that, I stood for the truth, and the truth just the ball didn't bounce my way. And now I was shipped off to prison on a bus and told to learn how to adapt, learn how to become aware of your surroundings. And like I tell people in my story, the first 3 years of my incarceration, it wasn't about the law. It was about survival. It was at that time, it was about, you're going to see some things in here, you better not say things. You may hear some things you better not repeat. Violence is a way to control things, whether it be from officers or it be from inmates. That, violence is what runs the prison. And I had to get acclimated to living that type of lifestyle. And, it was just a big culture shock for me, to be a guy who was, working at a university prior to getting arrested, coaching Little League baseball in our community, helping with a couple of nonprofit organizations, to a couple months later, 2-3 years later, I'm in our Florida penitentiary system, being told to get comfortable. You're going to be here for a while.
Wow.
So just the first 3 years was just a daze for me. I often tell people it was a blur because, getting acclimated to the prison life all comes with prison politics and prison drama. I definitely got caught in my fair share of those things, and, frustrated about the legal system failing me. And, it was just a lot of emotions that I had to adapt to.
Yeah. So I noticed that you don't have the mentality now, right? You don't, like, it's one of those things, you came out without a smell of smoke. So obviously you went in there with a strong mind. You didn't allow the prisons to consume you or brainwash you in any type of way. So you come from an educated family, you're educated, articulate. So you went pro se, you studied the law. So when that time came up, because you knew, I'm quite sure you had a firm belief that you was going to be free again one day, and you wasn't going to serve that whole term. So when that appeal process went through, how did it feel, and like what was running through your mind at that time?
You know, I don't know how to say it, but, and I will answer that question. Studying the law was very difficult for me. Here it is. I wrote universities all around the country: Georgetown, Harvard, Yale, Florida State. I wrote university professors to try to gain knowledge on research, how to look at case law, how to interpret statutes. I would even write attorneys, and piece by piece, I was able to understand the law. And once I started to understand the law, it started jumping off the page to me. And then I became obsessed with, how did I lose at trial? And then the obsession came. And if you ever looked at a cell, I would canvass my cell and, transcripts and evidence reports. And, I just got so consumed that I had became a statistic to our justice system. So, it just, like they say, like the guy in For Life, I get that a lot. That became me. That became the guy that had to overcome what the system had threw at me. But when I got set free after my motion and my sentence got overturned, it was bittersweet. It was liberating because the state of Florida had convicted me and sentenced me away. And 55,000 prisoners file a motion every year for release, for either to correct the legal sentence, in effect, the sentence of the council, or other habeas corpus or other legal motions that are being filed. It's in the Florida Journal. It's in the Florida Bar Journal that gets released every year. So 55,000 people file a motion every year to try to gain their freedom again. And I was incarcerated in prison for a total of 9 years. So 55,000 people every year filed a motion to get their release. So when my number was called and I went back to court and my sentence got overturned, it was liberating, but it was bittersweet. And the reason why it was bittersweet is because I knew in my heart that I was leaving behind people who deserve the same opportunity I did.
Wow.
There was people that I freed from prison that I could give you names. You could follow them. You could email them on Facebook. You could reach out to them. There was guys that I sent back because they had been over sentenced. There's guys back that didn't get proper credit time. There's so many people's lives that I affect legally, but walking out of the gate, I felt bittersweet that I had regained my freedom. But there was hundreds of children that I was leaving behind that only are in the system because somebody failed them. So to carry that burden home, I knew right away who I wanted to be. And I just been working diligently on that to serve my purpose. And I don't know if you got a chance to check my recent LinkedIn post, but the University of South Florida, I was 11 classes away from graduating with my bachelor's degree before I got arrested.
Yeah.
For one solid year, that university worked behind the scenes with me to get me back in school. And now I would start school in 2 weeks, and I will be able to graduate this time next year with my bachelor's degree. But the only sole purpose of me going back to school is because I want to go to law school. And that's a prerequisite that I must have to go to law school. And you commented early in the beginning about I look like a lawyer. That's exactly who I want to be.
Powerful.
I don't want to no longer be selling just my books online from my website to help give people information. I want to be that man that's standing in the gap, looking at the state attorneys, looking at the judge and say, you got this completely wrong, and be savvy enough to articulate it and safeguard our community. Nobody's going to fight harder than our children, than somebody who's been marginalized like me.
There you go.
Somebody has to stop looking at the dollar and stop looking at and start looking at humanity. And I feel this is my calling in life that I want to go after that.
That's
and
powerful.
I want to be able to protect our children.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing it. That's very powerful for you to have that courage and say, despite of, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people get discouraged. Oh, I'm never going to do this because I was convicted of this, or this, that, and the third happened. I was arrested. But you still had the determination to say, hey, listen, I want to be this defense attorney. I want to be this appeals attorney. Let y'all know law. Y'all not operating in the court of law. Y'all just doing your own thing. And I have a comment up here. She says, Vicky says in America, prisons are used instead of mental health facilities. It says we should never use prison for anything other than violent crimes, but is a big money maker. And I know everybody probably have their,
Yeah.
agreements, and
You know,
so. Hmm.
I think, and I definitely thank Vicky for
Hmm.
her comments, but I was labeled a violent offender and I had never did the things that they had accused me of.
Yeah.
So, I would be slow to judge because there are hundreds of kids that got labeled a violent offender, and it's just because they didn't know how to read a plea deal, or they had an overworked public defender who had 150 cases per one person, and they had to sign away because that was in the best interest of either going 20 months or going to 15 years. So, I think it's a case by case study. I definitely think there are some people that are in prison that deserve to be in prison and should be in prison because of the heinous and violent crimes that they have committed, and it has been proven. It has been proven. It has been proven by evidence. And it took a doctor, emergency physician, who put his reputation, his livelihood, his degree. He's not only an emergency physician, he is also an adjunct professor in Atlanta, Georgia. He put his reputation on the line to come back and free me. He stood up in the court of law and told them that what you have accused him of couldn't have occurred. It's not physically possible. And it's because of him putting his reputation, his livelihood, how he feeds his family on the line for me. And I felt like if any man is willing to risk his life for my freedom, then I owe it to our community to do what I need to do so I can go to school and I can protect our children like he protected me.
That's powerful. And Miss Vicky wanted to just clear it up. She said, no, sir, I'm not judging you. I do know the public defenders are not in on it. And just to touch on that, I shared something on a news station the other like a few weeks ago, and I had mentioned something about public defenders as well. And I think they misinterpret what I was saying, because I said a lot of these kids, they commit these heinous crimes, right? But they don't know what's before them. Nobody, the average 98, I'm gonna say about 95% of Americans do not go to school for law.
No.
So when you get arrested and all these charges are stacked up on you, you don't know what you're facing. When you go to your arraignment, you don't know what to say to the judge that's reading up your charges. So here it is, the average person is not able to afford an attorney. Therefore, your life is going to be at the mercy of strangers, which are usually public defenders. But public defenders, again, they have a lot of the caseload is crazy.
It's true. But you know what? I think, and I want to say this, you got to start giving people with lived experience an opportunity to have a seat at the table. And what I mean by that, it would bring me joy right now as I fight to finish up my education to work for our local public defender's office. And this is the reason why. One, I could be the face that you send into the community to tell these children, we don't need this type of violence. And this is what the violence is going to take you. They don't have somebody that's relatable. They don't have somebody that look like them and can walk into their environment and really get in their chest about the acts that they trying to commit because they think it's cool, or because they have beef, or because it's a female, or because it's drugs, or you trying to get some type of fame. You don't understand when you make this move, what's coming behind you, like you say. And, I just think that, I could do some good. I would fight for our local public defender to get more money, to be funded more, because they are understaffed. I've seen it myself, and I think that, I could revolutionize, our community. And I think it's time for change. We look at politicians around the country that are being given seats at the table with lived experience. And somebody once told me, you can't save the world if you can't save your community. And I feel like I want to be able to speak and save my community, and then take what is working and then go into other communities and talk to their leaders and try to give them a formula that works. Because if you haven't noticed, 2.2 million people are currently incarcerated. We have more people that's incarcerated now than the entire slavery period. We did slavery for 400 years. We have more people in bondage right now in the United States than it's ever been in America's history.
American history.
So when we see comments that come across the screen that say it is a money-making system, it is. In Florida, it's a $7 billion industry every year. $7 billion.
Right. $7 billion.
$7 billion.
Right. That's a lot of money, man.
Now, I'm not the smartest man in the world, but I think if you were making that type of money, wouldn't you want to start investing in our community so that way that number can get down?
It doesn't like and that's too much like right. It's like it's not going to happen. The same way when you look at cancer, a cure for cancer, that's $1 trillion industry. Do you think if somebody came up with a cure that they'll allow that person to live?
No.
Or are they going to keep it going because that's where all the money's coming in? And then, like you said, not only the incarcerated individual is it's a lot of money, but then just look at the Keefe commissary. Look at the thing, the tablets that they threw away 20 years ago that they're selling to the inmates now, an arm and a leg, because it's nothing but money. But what it is, it's sucking out the money from a lot of these inner cities, but
Now,
they're pouring it all up there in the mountains.
and you know what's happening too?
Uh-huh.
You giving inmates an opportunity to have a tablet. You giving inmates an opportunity to watch movies, play games, listen to music. You know what they're doing? They're making you comfortable.
Distraction.
Well, this ain't that bad. You know what? I can watch a movie. I can send an email. They manipulating your mind to think that I just do these 20 months and I'm good. But they don't understand that the 20 months come with a criminal record, and you're going to face a double jeopardy that when you get out, that you can't find a place of employment now. You can't find housing. You can't find a way to feed you and your family. So you're going to have to go back to what you know. And I just think that there's so many incredible people out here that's doing good. I just wish that I could partner with them.
And that's what it is. Like I said, I see Tony Lee, good brother out of Philadelphia, actually, back and forth Florida as well. He said, if I can help, good brother, says a lot, you know what I mean? Means a lot starting the Tribe of Levi Foundation. So there's so many people on here that's commenting saying, yo, if they can help or they could chime in any type of way, supporting your cause, making awareness, you know what I mean? Because there's so many people that are like, a lot of people are in prison right now that's seeking appeals, that's seeking that attorney, for that loophole that's in their case. But how many times does a lot of people get shot down even before they put the appeal process in? You reaching out to these attorneys, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I agree with that. There are time limits in Florida, so once you're convicted, your time is definitely running. Your time is definitely going. So you only have a certain amount of time to file an appeal. And if not, you're considered time barred, meaning that you can't file an appeal. But just the way that they go to keep you incarcerated, it is a money-making system. The state and the government profit off of that. But in my heart, I look at our leaders, our Reverend Jacksons, our Al Sharptons, even our Benjamin Crump. These leaders need somebody else that's going to be able to carry the torch. And that's just where my heart lies at. I want to be that guy that can line it up with politicians, speak their language because I'm educated, but also be able to speak to our community and bridge the gap between the two people. I'm not afraid to walk that street and fight for change. And that's just what I want to be. I want to be that person that, can walk into that corporate room and address the elephant in the room and give you a solution. I don't want to attack you. I want to give you a solution. But I also want to take that same mindset and walk into these tough neighborhoods, these communities, and tell them that there's a better way.
Better way. That's it. And that's it. And I believe that there's always strength in numbers, man. Like by you spreading awareness like that, man, and people tagging on to your calls and the things you're doing, man. I believe the world can change it, especially the United States. Let's not even worry about the rest of the world, but the United States, man. Like when we think of, I mention all the time, when you think of especially Black African American, just in general, we make up 12% of the population. But here it is, they're still killing off each other. We're still getting arrested, locked up, even though we're getting locked up for some things that we haven't committed, but then it's a lot of things that we are committing that's landing us in these places. But like you just said, there's a better way. You don't have to commit that crime. You don't have to be that next statistic. What I mean?
Let me give you some solid, just a thinking. Let me stretch your mind for a little bit.
Okay.
When you and I was growing up, you could go to the local Boys and Girls Club or the community park. There'd be a park director out there. Your mama drop you off, pick you up at 5 o'clock. You can play kickball, softball, get a free lunch, and mama come pick you up at 5 o'clock. Yeah. We ain't living in that time. So we got to adapt to what our children are. We can't use that same model and think that it's going to be sufficient, because our children these days are just way more advanced. They have technology. So the offset to it is, when I was growing up, mom used to say, "Boy, you need to come back in here when they get dark, and don't make me come looking for you." Now kids don't hardly want to go outside, and if they do go outside, it's to, to click up, to join other friends, go commit crimes. You got to give kids something that they want to gravitate these days. And what I mean by that, the funding is there. You don't build no more parks in the direction where you go out there and throw the football. You build centers where you teach children who want to be on this all day and scrolling. You know what you do? You build a center where you teach those children how to do web design, how to create things that can expand their mind. And guess what? When you distract the child and give them something that they're interested in, they're less likely to go out there and commit crime, and they rather chase $1 because you're giving them something that can feed themselves. These children, I can give a 4-year-old kid right now my cell phone and give him my password and tell him get on YouTube, and somehow he can get on YouTube and play the latest video for me, and we can be hanging out.
And it's crazy.
But why not give that child or that teenager an opportunity to go in there and build websites, or go and learn how to do day trading, or learn how to do something that's online that can occupy their time and also teach them a skill set? You can't go to employment no more and fill out an application in person like you used to back in our day. You got to do it online. So let's go ahead and push them to where the society is already going.
Yeah. And a lot of times, like you said, even with that tablet or them cell phones, they give it to them at a very young age. And it starts bringing, and mind you, iPhones and tablets, they haven't been around very long. It hasn't been. But man, the type of junk that they're getting off of these tablets, they're being lazy, don't want to do things. And
I don't want to say this because I know this is viral, and we definitely on, we live, but I want to say, me personally, like when I was incarcerated, I came home and then like I had to adjust to the cell phone. But before I left, I was never a guy that was always on my phone. Now, when I go out to dinner, I see this all day instead of communicating.
Exactly.
And I really feel like the reels and they nice, but there's a way to control you.
Yeah,
it's killing off our face-to-face community. It's killing off normal conversation between people.
Exactly.
And now it's changing the way the world does. And I think maybe 10 years from now, people won't even go out to dinner. There's no conversation.
It's crazy because even when I, like, say if I go on dates or something like that, and somebody, like you said, and somebody in their phone, that's like very disrespectful. Like, you know what I'm saying? You could take that as a sign of disrespect. It's like, you're not paying me no mind, but you're doing everything else.
But that's not to our generation and above. That's from our generation and down. That's think about that. Now you go to dinner with somebody about our age or above.
Yeah.
They know, okay, the phone was never a big thing, and they know how to put it down. But our generation down, it's control.
It's so sad.
Control. And guess who else they control like that too? They control the inmates like that with the tablets.
That's deep. Preparing them for when they come out here. That's a deep thing, man. Like, and I share all the time, like, after I spent a lot of my time in prison, me coming home, I was new to the tablet, the iPhone, but I still had to try to figure out, like, catching up with the age. But again, we come up in an era, we had the before technology and we have today's technology. So we have a balance of both. But the ones that don't, I want to shout out. Yeah, I want to shout out Miss Jackie Hallberg. She says she appreciate both of us, Mr. Walter. Yeah, we appreciate them as well. Miss Vicky and them, they all leaving great comments. Miss Esther, Tony Lee, they really. Miss Esther, she said, I'm 59 and it's my generation older too. Yeah, we.
That's true. I guess so. I can take that. Yeah. But
so
go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm gonna let you go. Go ahead.
I just say, my work now is just, partnering with our local officials. I'm advocating hard. I'm trying to be at every criminal justice summit. I'm trying to be at any reentry summit. I'm trying to, my calendar is filling up for speaking at universities this fall. So I try to stay on the circuit as much as possible. So that way, I can get the message out there. I can share my story and then also inspire our next generation of people. But I love speaking at universities. That's like by far the biggest the biggest feeling for me, because, you know, I get a chance to connect with students that are going to go into the criminal justice field. And then when I show them my story, I'm able to show them a story that they often hear about but never get a chance to see. And then I can intertwine it with academic theories that are being taught in the classroom and actually bring those theories to life. So that's kind of the unique way of me speaking at university. But more importantly, I like going in the rooms where the politicians are, the lawmakers, the people who are really deciding where to allocate funds to. And I like looking those people in the face, because if I dress up in a shirt and tie and you didn't know my backstory, you wouldn't know who I was.
No.
But I give you not only the educational side, but also give you the marginalized side too.
And that's hard. And that's very, a lot of people can't do that. Most politicians, most city councils, things like that, in most places, they can't balance both sides. We've been on both sides of the fence. So wouldn't it make sense that, we're not saying, oh, we're smarter than anybody, but our word or our say should have a little bit more relevance, it should be a little more relevant, because we've been on both sides of the fence.
And here's the thing. Think about this. You have people who've been either directly affected by the system, or you have the people who have actually been in the system. To me, there's one and the same. But when you don't give those individuals an opportunity to sit at the table, you're really not focusing on change. You cannot keep living in the past and saying this is how it worked, when we are transitioning into a new generation and things need to be updated. And I give people a prime example when I go speak at the law classes at the universities. When the law was made, the law didn't have people like me and you sitting down there talking about, is this right? Does this fit all? You know, the law was made and it wasn't all demographics sitting at the table to have a say-so in the law. So we understand that the law was designed to keep a certain class of people down. So I'm saying, as we make new laws, as we repeal laws, as we look at allocating funds from our local governments, it's very important that you have somebody who is savvy enough, who's educated enough, who can speak the language of both the political side and the marginalized side at a table, because that's when you're going to get the best ideas. You can't be a leader in today's society and be afraid to bring people in who is just as smart as you, or people who have more knowledge than you, or can give you better insight. Smart leaders bring people in to push them as well, or to create new ideas, or get around and get that type of synergy around where innovation happens.
That's it. And Mr. Walter Dunn, if you could go ahead and share about this book, the books that you have, because you're a published author. If you could share, like, you know, right there, that screen, I know they checking it out. Like, what books?
I look pretty good right there now.
Yeah. Professional, man. Professional. Much to you, man. And I appreciate, you know, you staying focused even after the time you've done. You're still inspiring people right now. There's people that are listening right now that are watching from a prison cell, that are watching from a recovery house, and you're giving them hope. So if you could touch on the two books that you have published and give a brief little synopsis of what it is.
Well, the first book, if you look to the right, Through Innocent Eyes, is my personal story. Okay. You know, it gives a very detailed account of what my life was prior to being arrested for the first time in my life, to going through being arrested, what that process felt like, and the battle that took place with me fighting for my freedom. So that book is written very emotional. You know, I have a book club. I have people actually reach out to me through the social media, or, you know, even through text sometimes, and want to know, well, how did you feel in this situation? So I kind of like that. That togetherness, that I could take people through the story. But that's my personal account of going through the justice system for the first time in my life, the only time in my life, and what it was like. When I became, like, I guess you could say, like, the powerhouse lawyer in prison, and I started overturning people's sentences and getting people back in court and helping them fight for their children, you know, I had an epiphany that there are so many families that go through the justice system and don't know the law, have never been in this situation, have given a lawyer thousands of dollars and can't keep a lawyer accountable. And before they know it, the carpet has been pulled from under them and their loved one is in prison, male or female. And I have my family go on Amazon, which my books are both on Amazon too. And the books do get sent to prison. They're both approved by the Department of Corrections. But I started to realize in that moment that there are so many family members just like mine. My family will go on to Amazon, go on to these websites, and legal books would be $350, $400, $500 to get the legal knowledge. And it was just out of reach for poverty-stricken families. You know, my family had it all before I got arrested and became broke after I got sentenced. So how could I reach out and get legal help or try to learn to help myself out once I was incarcerated and I didn't have the money? And then I started using some of the most intricate parts of the law that really get your case going. So while I was incarcerated, I wrote a book, 116 pages of the most important things that you need to know when going through the criminal justice system. So if you've been arrested for the first time, you're on probation, you're on house arrest, you're in prison, you would have the information that I had to overturn your sentence, to get your loved one home too. And then it became about how much would I sell the book for? And then I put it out to a couple trusted advisories, and everybody came back and said, make the book affordable, Walt. Make it affordable. It's not about getting rich. Is it about the money or is it about the people? I could easily put the book for $300, $400 and made great profit off of it. But I made the book affordable, you know, on my website, $50. On Amazon, because of the way it had got set up, I think it's just a little bit more. I think it's $59, but affordable. I don't want your loved one to have to sit in prison or in jail or on its way to prison when you can have the information that you need to file the proper motions, to hold a lawyer accountable, what to really look for. You know, I think that was just so life-changing, because there's so many books that I send out, you know, either through my personal website or that goes through Amazon, that is helping families, man. That is bringing loved ones home that are or being able to hold a lawyer accountable and getting real results. And that's what the book was generated for. And when I published that, you know, I wanted to make it known to our community, to our nation, that you no longer have to be ignorant. It's been since the beginning of the time, the oppressor wanted to keep the information hidden. And when the people of lower class couldn't get the information, they got taken advantage of. And now when I fast forward and look at 2024, we're still in that same boat. People who have the knowledge don't want to make it affordable or give it without some substantial fee. And how is that affecting our community? That's why we have an overcrowded jail and prison system. I decided to take the book, take the information, pass it on, and give the people the real information that they need to be successful.
And that's very powerful. And one real quick question. If you could right now, if you can give any type of motivation, some type of, you know, energy to individuals that's watching right now, that may need help, you know, with some encouraging words, what would it be?
You know, I would say, you know, I often look at my story, and I don't mean to get biblical with anybody, so I apologize in advance if I've offended anybody. But, you know, I look at Moses leading the people out of Egypt. You know, he had a hard task and he got them out. And then he got to a river with his enemies chasing behind. And he cried out and he believed. And God parted the sea so the people could be safe. If you're going through something and you feel like there is no out, there is no way that you can overcome this situation, look to me for guidance. Look to me for inspiration, because I'm a living example that if you believe, it will happen for you. It may take some time. It may not happen overnight, but with the right information, with somebody that's going to be able to help you, somebody you can look forward to, you believe it'll happen, man. So never get discouraged. Never feel like the game is over with. There's always going to be time on the clock. It's about making best decisions. It's about educating yourself. It's about networking. It's about getting yourself in a better position, because when you know better, you do better. And that's just the truth of it.
Wow, we really appreciate that, Mr. Walter Dunn. And I know that we could go on for days and days, man.
We can now. I'm here now.
The law and everything. And I really do appreciate it. And here you go. You got Miss Vicky, and she's saying, God bless you, Mr. Dunn. May all your dreams come true. That's a blessing. You know, you got Miss Esther, goodness of God. Like I said, it's a lot, you know, and it's going to be a lot of feedback. So be expecting inboxes, things like that. Like, there's some people over here, even on Instagram. Shout out to people out on Instagram just checking a lot of this out too.
I mean, cut you off, but you know, most people, you can find me at my website, www.walterdunn.com. You can go on my LinkedIn and find me at Walter Dunn on LinkedIn. It's Motivational Walt on Instagram, and it's Walter Dunn on Facebook. And if you need help, you need guidance, reach out to me. If you just need an encouraging word, you know, I want to get that to you as well, because these people told me that I would do all my time. You know, I had a mother cry on me and say that I just don't have the money, Walt. And I had to look her in the face and say, Mama, I'll find a way.
You'll find a way.
And with the help,
yeah,
and with the prayers, I did find a way. And now it's my passion to go into your community and help save your children too.
Absolutely.
It's no longer about me. It's about our community. It's about us succeeding. And if I could save one child, I could lay down at night knowing that I did the right thing.
Absolutely. So without further ado, y'all, we got to go ahead and get ready to end this broadcast. I'm your host, Keenan Hudson, on the Reentry Connect podcast, Chasing My Purpose with Mr. Walter Dunn. Telling y'all, hit him up, walterdunn.com. Got books out and everything. I'm telling you, guaranteed to change your life, especially people that's, you know, having trouble with the court system, understanding litigation. You know, it's very powerful, you know, especially when it comes to that appeal process. It's not easy, but we just see that somebody didn't lose hope, you know, and that hope can be passed on to everybody else as well. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and end this broadcast. But until next time, everybody, have a good